Chapter 2024, The Heart. They hadn't even gotten close to the mountain of corruption, but the huge suction coming from the cracks in it was already pulling Zhang towards it. Even the power of the demon god's armor couldn't counteract this force. Zhang gritted his teeth, knowing that he was only one step away. As long as he got Ling's human body, he would be halfway to achieving his goal. Then, with Chong help, he could seal Mammon. Even if the demon eye tattoo remained, at least he wouldn't have to worry about it for a few decades. But when he reached the door, he couldn't get in. Ling, tell me, how do I get inside Mammon? Ling, answer me. But this time, no matter how hard Zhang shouted in his heart, he got no response. Connecting to the ether was very difficult, and at this moment, he was not calm enough to reach the state of nothingness outside the body described in the Heart Sutra. Simply put, if his heart was not calm enough, his spirit could not reach a higher level. The mountain of corruption was like a huge mountain of flesh, bouncing and crashing directly toward him. Above Zhang, a huge opening appeared, and he could clearly see the writhing internal organs inside. If he was swallowed up, with the Drucker god's ability to devour all matter, Zhang and his armor would be dissolved. Damn it! Before coming here, when they were on the opposite bank of the weak water abyss, they had exchanged information about the weaknesses of the Lord of the Netherworld. Therefore, Zhang knew that this thing could not be attacked. The more he attacked it, the stronger it would become. So Zhang had no choice but to temporarily leave Mammon's heart. The little demons below clung to each other and pulled each other up, building a tall bridge in midair, and roared as they pounced toward Zhang. Those little gray demons had mouths full of backward-growing teeth, looking fierce and terrifying. Zhang didn't bother with them and slashed at them with his sword. A surge of energy erupted from the tip of the sword like a tidal wave. With just one strike, a large number of little demons were instantly reduced to ashes. Zhang was about to dodge the Lord of the Netherworld and then find a way to enter Mammon's body. Suddenly, he was shocked to discover that a little demon had bitten the back of his magic sword. Its hideous face was ugly and terrifying. Zhang swung his sword in disgust and smashed it against the cliff wall, instantly turning it into mincemeat. But when he raised his sword, he found that the back of the blade had been bitten into a deep dent. There was still black saliva on it, emitting green smoke. How can the teeth of such a thing be so sharp? Zhang was stunned. Sure enough, it was a creature from the demon's eye, and he couldn't let his guard down. If he had accidentally been bitten on his armor, he didn't even want to think about the consequences. Divine refinement was based on Bowser's sword in the tree, so even if it was destroyed, there was no need to worry. As long as it was replenished with enough energy, it would regenerate. However, right now, the biggest problem was how to get inside Mammon's body. The mountain of corruption was very angry that it hadn't eaten Zhang. It opened all of its mouths, as if wind was blowing into its body, and let out a complex roar that sounded like a long wind blowing through a valley at night, like the cries of ghosts. This gluttonous creature had an insatiable appetite for delicious food, and Zhang was a delicacy in its eyes. It's no use continuing to fight like this. Zhang frowned. Everyone around him was fighting fiercely, and they were all busy fighting the Lord of the Netherworld. Olive and the others were also actively helping Zhang clear a path because they wanted to prove that they were not traitors. He couldn't expect more from them at the moment. How could I forget about the freeloaders? Zhang suddenly remembered that there were still people inside his shadow. Of course, he couldn't bear to let Yang Xinxin and the others come out and risk their lives. But Li Gong and Vermilion Bird, TSK, you two were hiding inside and enjoying yourselves. Li Gong, what are you waiting for in there? Come out. Zhang reached directly into the shadow, grabbed Li Gong by the collar, and pulled him out. Li Gong was caught off guard and froze for a moment, then saw the fierce battle outside and his expression changed. Even though his strength had greatly improved, in such a dangerous place, his strength was still not enough. I was just waiting for the right moment. Li Gong was still trying to make excuses. Now is the best time. Zhang pointed to the gap in Mammon's chest. See that gap? When we get there, forget about everything else and stab him there with all your might. understand? Li Changgong had no choice but to pull out his military sword. Okay. At this moment, a large number of netherwalkers crawled over, like locusts, their numbers vast. Zhang Yi didn't even glance at them. He directly opened the dimensional gate and brought Li Changgong to Mammon's chest. Go! At Zhang Yi's command, Li Changgong felt that Zhang Yi's attitude was a little off. Was he treating him like a dog? But at this critical moment, he didn't dare to cause trouble. He immediately focused his gaze and swung his sword horizontally. I am heaven's will. The sword broke through the air, and Mammon's flesh, which could withstand the impact of a meteor, was split open. Zhang Yi was overjoyed and immediately rushed forward. After the black flesh split open, light burst forth from within, like a sun hidden within his flesh. Zhang Yi couldn't care less about anything else, because with Mammon's powerful physical body, the wound could close at any moment. He raised the spear of Longinus and stabbed it directly into Mammon's heart. Boom! The spear of Longinus pierced Mammon's heart and opened a huge hole, but it couldn't go any further. Zhang Yi knew why. Ling's human body was blocking it and hadn't been taken out yet. He grabbed Li Changgong's collar and, without the slightest hesitation, flew straight towards Mammon's heart. A white light flashed, and Zhang Yi and Li Changgong disappeared from Mammon's chest. The black side of the two-faced angel above suddenly let out a shrill scream. The white angel's tightly closed eyes shed 2 streams of clear tears. The white angel's eyes finally opened slowly, and her eyes were also snow white. When she opened her eyes, Mammon's heart burst forth with a bright white light from the broken spot, like the sun piercing through the darkness, shining in all directions. This white light completely covered the entire sealed area. Mammon's body was not as strong as imagined. If there had been a mutant with Li Changgong's abilities in earlier years, wouldn't he have died long ago? Why was he so difficult to kill? Chapter 2025, Another World. When Zhang Yi entered Mammon's body, this thought suddenly popped into his mind. The planet had existed for more than 4 billion years, and the Drucker Titans had always existed. Even Kagago couldn't kill them. Could it be that in all those long years, there had never been anyone with abilities similar to Li Changgong's? This made Zhang Yi feel a little strange, but it was something he only thought of after entering Mammon's body. However, the situation was now dire. The longer the battle outside lasted, the more disadvantageous it would be for their side. He had to find Ling's human body as soon as possible. Mammon's body was filled with light, and was not composed of the hardest flesh in the world. Zhang Yi suddenly stopped. He stood on a vast piece of land, still clutching Li Changgong's neck in his hand. When he looked back, half of the spear of Longinus was behind him, but the entrance had been tightly sealed. It was as if it were a pillar extending from nothingness. Zhang Yi's eyes became serious. Is this another illusion? No, maybe this is the real world. He dragged the spear of Longinus with all his might and pulled it completely into the white space. This was his greatest weapon now. Mammon did not revive, but only encountered the lore of the netherworld, and with the spear of Longinus, he still had room to maneuver. What the hell is this place? Zhang Yi, how did you get inside Mammon's body? Didn't we agree to just seal him away? Li Changgong stared at Zhang Yi and asked nervously. There was a hint of doubt in his eyes because he felt that Zhang Yi was definitely hiding some important secret. Zhang Yi calmly scanned his surroundings and said, "It's not that simple. I saw a different future, and just stabbing the spear of Longinus into Mammon's heart is not enough. This world still hides other secrets." Upon hearing this, Li Changgong subconsciously swallowed a mouthful of saliva. "Then can you let go first? You're choking me." Zhang Yi turned his head and saw that Li Changgong's face was red. It turned out that he had subconsciously used a little force. His strength wasn't particularly great, but the power of the demon god's armor was formidable. "Oh, sorry." Zhang Yi let go, and Li Changgong coughed twice before breathing a sigh of relief. Then he pulled out another sword, stood behind Zhang Yi with both swords in his hands, and cautiously looked around. "Is this Mammon's body?" Li Changgong looked as if he was looking for something. "What are you looking for?" Zhang Yi asked in confusion. The point of impact. He looked at Zhang Yi and smiled slightly, the point where my sword will strike. I can slash Mammon's physical body, so as long as I start from a softer spot inside, I might have a chance to destroy his essence. Then, he laughed a little too smugly. Although I am Heaven's will had obvious flaws, its advantages were too powerful. It truly had the ability to ignore differences in ability index and cut through all enemies. But Zhang Yi rolled his eyes and sneered coldly, aren't you getting a little too carried away? What? Hey, that's not right. If it weren't for my help, you wouldn't have been able to get in here. Zhang Yi used his abilities to sense everything around him. He could confirm that this place was very large and clearly not just the body of a demon god. I suspected as much. If it were just flesh and blood, how could it withstand the impact of a planet? Demon god Mammon, the physical body we see with our eyes is not his actual body. It's just a vessel. If we want to fight against a high-dimensional creator, we must raise ourselves to a higher dimension. Zhang Yi said softly, actually talking to Yang Xinqin. After Chanyu Palace, Zhang Yi had a clearer understanding of the nature of the world. Yang Xinqin said, brother, Ling's seal is definitely not as simple as sealing her physical body. But since we've come to this place, we must find Ling's human body before we can leave. Zhang Yi nodded, that is indeed my plan. He looked to the side in front of him. Let's go. With that, he didn't hesitate and carried a huge bronze pillar several hundred meters long toward that direction. Li Changgong followed behind him, completely confused. No, what you know? But now he didn't dare to stay behind, so he hurriedly caught up with Zhang Yi. The others remained in Zhang Yi's shadow. There should be no shadows in a white world, so Mu Yan dragging behind Zhang Yi looked a little out of place. Zhang Yi paid no attention and continued forward. As he passed through the light, he suddenly felt a gust of wind blow against his mask. The demon god's mask was transparent in one direction, allowing him to see everything outside from the inside, and the intelligent system would feed back information from the outside world at any time. For example, right now, it showed a level 2 wind and a temperature of 16 degrees Celsius. After stepping out of the white light, Zhang Yi's feet landed on soft ground, and he saw different colors before his eyes. Green was the main color as far as the eye could see. In front of him were distant mountains, a range of green peaks that were not very high. The mountains were covered with flowers, trees, and grass, with rivers and canyons below. Zhang Yi was standing on top of a mountain peak, with soft grass under his feet, a kind of wild grass that was somewhat familiar but had never been recorded on the planet, swaying in the wind. Even without opening his mask, Zhang Yi could feel that the climate outside must be pleasant, with a spring breeze blowing. Illusion. Realm? Zhang Yi frowned slightly, looking a little puzzled. This was clearly not the real world outside. He had seen the Lord of the Netherworld's ability to shape realms, so this scene was nothing to him. However, he was very wary of illusions. His demon god armor could block harmful light and sound from the outside world, so spells that used light and sound were usually useless against him. Li Changgong followed from behind and shouted exaggeratedly, "Wow! What the hell is this place? There are mountains and water, green trees and grasslands. Isn't it beautiful?" Zhang Yi said indifferently, "This is the world inside Mammon's body. You'd better not get too excited. Be careful, we could be killed at any moment." Li Changgong took a deep breath, somewhat mesmerized by the surrounding scenery. If we really could die in such a beautiful place, it might not be such a bad thing. After all, we haven't seen a normal, beautiful world in so long. These words touched Zhang Yi deeply. Yes, they hadn't seen such picturesque scenery in so long. If the end of the world hadn't come, this should have been their normal life.